What if the person who understands you best is the you haven't met yet? In a small, quiet bedroom, a teenage girl sat surrounded by the life she was supposed to love. Her days were a blur of classes and friendships that looked perfect from the outside. On social media, her feed was a carefully curated mosaic of smiling faces and fun outings, a gallery of a life that felt vibrant and full. But when the phone was put down and the lights were low, a different feeling crept in. Her heart felt quiet, like an empty room, and a deep sense of confusion settled over her. She felt caught between the person everyone saw and the person she felt she was. On the inside, a person she barely knew herself. While her friends seemed to navigate their lives with such confidence and certainty, she felt lost. As if she was standing at a crossroads with no map, unsure of which path led to the person she was meant to become. This gap between her inner world and her outer life grew wider each day, leaving her feeling isolated and adrift in her own story. One evening, during a late-night study session, her English teacher shared a thought that seemed to cut through the noise. He said, "Sometimes, when you feel like you have no one to talk to, when you can't find the right words for the people around you, try writing to your future self. Write to the person you hope to become." The idea was simple, almost too simple, but it didn't leave her. It lingered in her mind like a small, persistent light, a tiny spark she couldn't ignore. In a world where she felt misunderstood, the thought of talking to someone who might one day understand everything was strangely comforting. It was a lifeline offered in a moment of quiet desperation, a suggestion that held the promise of a connection, even if it was just with a version of herself that didn't exist yet. That night, the teacher's words echoed in her thoughts, refusing to fade away. Later that week, she found herself sitting at her desk, an old, forgotten notebook in front of her. The house was silent, and the world outside her window was asleep. Hesitantly, she picked up a pen. The blank page stared back at her, both intimidating and inviting. Taking a deep breath, she wrote on the very first page, a dedication that was both a plea and a promise to the me who is braver than I am now. And with those words, something unlocked inside her. The thoughts she had kept locked away began to pour onto the paper. She wrote about her deepest fears, the fear of failing, the fear of failing, the fear of never truly finding her place. She confessed her secret dreams, the ones she had never dared to speak aloud to anyone, not even her closest friends. She filled the pages with questions that haunted her in the quiet hours of the night, questions about love, about purpose, about who she was and who she was supposed to be. The notebook became a vault for her most vulnerable self. What started as a single act of desperation soon became a quiet, personal ritual. The notebook became her most trusted confidant. It was a silent friend that was always there, ready to listen without judgment. On the hard days, the days when tears stained the pages, she would write, "I hope you survived this. I hope you look back and see how strong we were." These entries were a way of sending strength forward, of hoping the future held a resolution she couldn't yet see. On the hopeful days, when a small victory made her feel a glimmer of pride, she would write with a different kind of energy. "I hope you are proud of what we started today. I hope you haven't forgotten this feeling." Each letter was a message in a bottle, cast into the sea of time. It wasn't about getting answers. It was about the act of asking, the act of trusting that someone, somewhere in the future, would be there to receive her words and understand. This simple habit became an anchor in the turbulent waters of her teenage years. Years drifted by like pages turning in a book. Life happened. She finished school, moved to a new city for college, and then moved again for a job. New friends came into her life, and old ones faded into memories. The world she had known as a teenager seemed like a distant land. The small notebook, filled with her handwritten hopes and fears, was packed away in a box and eventually forgotten, buried under layers of new experiences, new challenges, and a new life. It became a relic of a past self she rarely thought about anymore. The girl who had written those letters felt like a stranger now. One rainy afternoon, while searching for an old textbook in her parents' attic, her hand brushed against a familiar cardboard box. Inside, at the very bottom, beneath old photographs and concert tickets, was the notebook. Its cover was slightly faded, but it was just as she had left it. She sat down on the dusty floor, the sound of rain tapping gently against the roof. With a sense of curiosity and a little bit of apprehension, she opened the notebook. She began to read her own handwriting from a decade ago, looking both foreign and familiar. She read about the friendships she was so afraid of losing some had indeed faded, but new, deeper connections had taken their place. She read about the exams she was terrified of, failing exams she had passed, leading her down a path she never expected. Some of the fears that had felt so monumental back then seemed so small now. Many of them had never even come to pass. And then she read about her dreams. The dream of traveling, the dream of living in a city with a big library, the dream of finding work that felt meaningful. She realized, with a slow, dawning sense of wonder, that many of these dreams had quietly, almost without her noticing, come true. The future self she had poured her heart out to, the brave and wise person she had hoped to become, was her, right now. She was living the life that the girl in the notebook had only dared to dream of. The girl who wrote in the dark had been building a bridge of words, reaching across time to the woman she had now become. It was a profound, deeply moving realization that the person she had trusted all along was herself. You don't have to have all the answers about your future. You don't need to know exactly where you're going or who you'll become. You just have to be kind to the person you are right now and stay kind to the person you are becoming. She sat at her new desk in her own apartment, the rain still falling outside. Inspired, she picked up a fresh notebook and a pen. On the first page, she smiled and began to write, "Dear future me, I'm still here, still trying. Thanks for learning with us." If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.